Okay, let's do this one more time. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the brand new film inside the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made. At least one of them. You know, everybody say, what about Spider-Man 2? Spider-Man 2 is great. What about No Way Home? No Way Home is great. What about what about Homecoming? Homecoming is great. What about Spider-Man 3 and The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Get out. Get out right now. Now! Call yourself a Spider-Man fan and naming those movies are the best ones. How dare you? What about the video game? I mean, if you want to, you know, it is a video game, and I have edited it into a movie format, so a couple of times. So, you know, if you want to include the video game stuff, you know, for the PlayStation exclusive stuff, which I still don't have PS5 yet, so because I really want to play that one. Anyway, if Birthday Santa's around the corner, please, I really want a PS5 so I can play Spider-Man 2 and edit it so I can edit it together for people, for my audiences. Anyway. But anyway, so Across the Spider-Verse is the beginning of a two-part finale. So we got Across the Spider-Verse, which is just right now. This just came out right now, and next year at March 22nd, we'll have Beyond the Spider-Verse. But the thing is about Into the Spider-Verse, the first film, it was a surprise. Like, you know, we all probably thought it was going to at least be decent or good. But the thing is, it's Sony, and Sony, you kind of just have to hope it's good. Because outside of, like, the first two Spider-Man films and the first Amazing Spider-Man, outside those films, they kind of need Daddy's help. They kind of need to go back, you know, they need some loan money. They need to go back to the sugar parents and help them to make a good Spider-Man movie, aka Marvel Studios. Because that's what it has turned into, right? And I get it. Venom, fine. This Venom doesn't work for me personally, but I get it if people really like the corny aspect of the character or whatever. But, you know, Morbius. Craven, I'm like, I don't really give a crap on Craven because there's no track record. Madam Web is like, you're making a what now? That's the one film. But then it gets reminded, and then people remind me about this El Diablo film, which got bumped, which is next year as well. I mean, a character who only showed up for 2 issues, and that's it. That's their lifespan of the comics. Who's a wrestling character. Anyway. But it was a surprise, you know, even with like Chris Lord and Phil Miller, who you know did 21, 22 Jump Street, the Lego Movie, the Kind of Chess Meatballs, and Mitchell vs. Machines, which is so fantastic. We all went like, okay, let's see how this goes, and we didn't realize how fucking fantastic that first film was. How much heart and how much emotion, how somehow they're able to simplify the multiverse. If you think about it, Spider-Verse was the first one to do it. Yes, the Arrowverse did it, but in a movie context, they're the first ones who ever dealt with the multiverse, and they were able to do it such a like decent way where it's just like, oh, these Spider-Mans are all from a different world, and they're trapped on Miles' world. And now with this movie, with Across the Spider-Verse, it's time for Miles to enter into their world. So they were able to simplify it with all the emotions and hearts and the quiet time with the, oddly at the time, the most oddly timed Stan Lee cameo because it came out just like a couple weeks or a couple of days after he passed away. It was just oddly so perfectly timed of what his cameo was and what he said in that scene. But with Across the Spider-Verse, with this sequel, I would say this. It does feel like a half of a movie. It does feel like that. It does feel like a part 1. Where you are pretty much switching like all the things that you would normally do in a sequel and what would normally happen in the first hour is getting stretched into an entire movie, and that is setting up Spider-Man 2099, who was in the post-credit scene for the first film, voiced by Oscar Isaacs, who is perfect as Spider-Man 2099. You setting up him. You're setting up how's Gwen's doing, setting up about Miles and what he's been doing, what his dynamic is like, and that, and then you have to set up our villain, which is Spot, which is a villain that you wouldn't think of. I mean, Spot. We're like, Spot. What's this whole thing? Oh yeah, he's a guy with holes. If Peter Parker or Miles punches him into one of his holes, he'll punch them back with his own fist because they're all portals. You're just like, okay, he's a big bad for the next two movies, okay. I mean, here's the thing with Spot. I still don't see him as this huge threat yet. And I think that's going to be a situation where, like, okay, to understand how he is fully, it's going to be, okay, wait till part 2 comes along. As I said, here's the thing, I love this film. I think it's fantastic. People have been calling it their favorite film of all time. I mean, for me, I'm like, might be a favorite half movie of all time, and that's literally the thing. It's half a movie. You're setting up the villain, setting up the world of the Spider-Verse itself, setting up this agency, setting up the big threat, setting up all the plot points that's going to drive the rest of the plot. All happens in this nearly 2.5 hour time span, and it's hitting all those points, and they're hitting it in such a great way. Like, if you're there for action and Spidey action left, right, center, yeah, it's there, but it's not the most spectacular stuff in the world. It's not the most amazing stuff in the world. It's not the most sensational thing in the world. It's not the most ultimate thing in the world. See what I did there? Slamming all the Spider-Man idioms in one packet go. But there's scenes I love in this. I love the relationship between Miles and his family. I love the first 15, 20 minutes. Like, here's the thing, Miles doesn't show up in this movie until 15 minutes into this movie. They really take their time. It's like they knew that, yeah, we're going to make this 2 movies. So we can take our time with things. And I'm loving the dynamic. I love the relationship between Miles and Gwen. I definitely love going into Gwen's world, because we kind of get to see her entire origin story. Like, that was probably 6 issues, and they were able to do it in 15 minutes, and hitting all those major points. It's full of heart. There's humor. You could tell when they did the whole to be continued. There was a couple of people who went, bullshit, boo! They're like, what are you talking about? No! We have to wait 5 years to see this included? I'm like, no, 8 months. 8 months. Yeah. But I will also say this. This is, because it is a bit of a more character-focused story where, there's action throughout, but it's not action left, right, center. It is a long movie, 2.5 hours. It is known as the longest animated film ever, at least in the American market. I will say this, if you have a kid who has a hard time sitting down, they might have a hard time sitting down with this movie. Because I saw 6-year-olds that were next to me taking selfies in the movie theater. First thing first, I'm like, why are 6-year-olds doing selfies? Or 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, how old they were. But I'm like, or running up and down to their friends or their family members are at a different aisle, and you're just like, this is a movie that is going to, I think it's going to be that movie where this is more mature. This is not, like Elemental is something I would recommend to someone whose kid is like that, who has a hard time paying attention, even though it seems like the Elemental reviews ain't that swell, it ain't that good. And that versus Spider-Verse. Because Spider-Verse, in the same way, into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, this acts like a movie that it's like, we just want to write a movie that could be in live action, but because, and there's some live action elements, but could easily, it's basically, here's a live action movie that we can't do in live action, so we'll do it animated. It's that type of thing. It's kind of like, Star Wars in a way. How, we don't have money to make a live action Star Wars show at that point, so we'll do Clone Wars and we'll do Rebels. We'll do stuff like that. You know what I mean? It feels like that. And it works. Like the big giant action sequence that you see at most of the trailers, which is with all the Spider-Mans, which there's a lot of blinks and you miss it. A lot of yes, you see, stuff from the live action films, like, the jokes about, Uncle Ben, or a Uncle Ben type always dying, or the references about No Way Home with Doctor Strange, or, you see, the different Captain Stacy deaths out through the comics and out through, and you see, the first Amazing Spider-Man, you see that scene played out, you see that moment. But it took me a while, like I was looking at this frame and I didn't realize in the middle of the frame was the video game version. I didn't realize that. I was like, is this before or after him getting the symbiote and is going I'm going to hunt lizard down. Go hunt lizard down. Even Peter trying to do some dance moves. You know what would be kind of funny? If they let Peter, because in the first game they did let you walk around New York doing the Spider-Man 3 dance moves. It'd be more hell. Hey, you want to do some more taking the piss out of it? Just let that happen again. Have the same animation, but you're in the black suit. So it's just like, hey, it's Emo Peter. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Love this movie. I think it's great. Love the characterization. But I won't lie. I probably won't rewatch this film. Maybe I'll rewatch it when the movie's about Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. But if someone says, is it better than the first one? No, I won't say no. I don't think it's better than the first one. I think the first one, there's a level of specialness with it, but at the same time, it's a completed story, not half a story. And it does feel like, okay, to get a full grasp of what I think this entire movie's going to be, I think, and this entire story's going to be, I have to wait till 2024, which sucks. So, but yeah, I mean, I recommend go and Across the Spider-Verse, just really, so good. This series and this movie, it's so good. It's just Beyond the Spider-Verse. Please bump the release date forward, please.